The stars were silent, but danger was not far. Sam, a young human pilot, sat inside his small scout ship, flying deep through uncharted space. He was calm but focused. This was his first solo test flight for the Earth Alliance, and he wanted to go perfectly, but space had other plans. Suddenly his control panel blinked red, alarms started screaming. Something had gone terribly wrong. Sam tried everything to stop the damage, but the ship shook violently. Sparks flew. A tear in the engine sent him into a fast spin. Sam braced himself as his ship lost control, falling through a planet's atmosphere below. "I'm not going to die," he whispered, gripping the controls tightly. The last thing he saw was a beautiful green and blue world rushing toward him. Then everything went dark. Meanwhile, on the planet Gilar, an important day had begun. It was the day of the grand coronation. Thousands had gathered in a massive, open courtyard made of crystal and silver. The air shimmered with energy as the high priest held up the ancient crown. All eyes were on the young Empress-to-be, Virelia. She stood tall, proud, and graceful. Her long silver robe flowed behind her as she stepped toward the sacred altar. Gilar's 3 moons floated above, perfectly aligned, a rare event said to bring truth and fate together. Just as the high priest began to speak the final words of the crowning, the sky cracked. A burning object blazed across the sky, trailing smoke and fire. People screamed and scattered in panic. The object crashed just beyond the courtyard, shaking the ground with a loud, thunderous boom. Guards rushed forward. Dust and fire filled the air. When it cleared, a broken metal vessel lay in ruins near the sacred altar. Inside it was Sam, bruised, bleeding, but still alive. Gilari warriors pointed spears at him as he stumbled out. "Don't move," one shouted in their native tongue. Virelia stepped forward, her voice calm but sharp. "He came from the sky during the coronation," she said, narrowing her eyes. The high priest dropped his staff. Everyone froze. An ancient golden sphere beside the altar, an artifact untouched for 1,000 years, began to hum. It glowed faintly. Then it spun in place. The priests gasped. The Empress stared in disbelief. "That hasn't moved since the time of stars," one elder whispered. "It's responding to him." Sam, unaware of what was happening, raised his hands. "I mean no harm," he said slowly. "My name is Sam, I'm just lost." Virelia took a step closer. "You fell from the stars, and the Omen has awakened." Her voice was steady, but something had changed in her eyes. Curiosity, caution, and something else, fear. The guards hesitated, unsure of what to do. Kill him? Arrest him? But no one wanted to touch the man who made the sacred relic move. "Take him to the palace," Virelia ordered. "Treat his wounds, he will be questioned." Sam's legs almost gave out, but he managed to nod. "Thank you." As they carried him away, the golden sphere spun faster, faster than ever before. Then it stopped, pointing directly toward the Empress. Inside the palace, Sam lay on a soft bed, confused and weak. Alien healers applied strange glowing herbs to his wounds. He didn't understand their language, but their actions were kind. A servant brought him food. Another left him clothes. No one spoke to him directly, but all of them kept stealing curious glances. It was as if he were a ghost, or a god. Hours later, the door opened. A tall figure stepped inside. It was Virelia. She looked at him silently for a long moment before speaking in slow, careful English. "You came from the sky. You ruined my coronation. But the old signs, they reacted to you." Sam sat up, surprised to hear his language. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. My ship failed. I didn't even know this planet was here." Virelia nodded slowly. "That artifact, the golden sphere, has not moved in 1,000 years. It is only meant to respond to the one chosen by fate." Sam frowned. Chosen for what? She didn't answer at first. Then she said, "Long ago, it was written that an outsider would come from fire, fall from the sky and awaken the sleeping relics. That person would be the true mate of the Empress, a bond destined to bring change." Sam laughed awkwardly. "You're joking, right?" She didn't smile. "This is not a joke. Our priests are already preparing the tests." Tests? To prove whether the prophecy is real. Whether you are truly the one foretold. You will not be harmed, but you will be watched closely. Sam looked around, feeling the weight of her words. "I don't believe in destiny. Neither did I," Virelia replied. "But the omens have begun." She turned and walked away, leaving him alone once more. Outside, the three moons began to move out of alignment, but the people whispered long into the night. The stranger from the stars had arrived, and nothing on Ziller would ever be the same again. Sam stood at the tall window of his palace room, looking out at the strange alien world. The sky was purple-blue, with floating clouds shaped like ribbons. The trees sparkled with crystal-like leaves. It was beautiful, but he didn't feel calm. He was a stranger here, an outsider. Behind him the door opened and a soft voice spoke. "You may walk the palace grounds, but guards will follow." It was Virelia, the Empress. She stood tall in a simple white robe, her expression calm but serious. "Thanks," Sam replied, turning around. "I don't plan to run. I wouldn't even know where to go." Virelia stepped closer, studying his face. "You say you did not come here on purpose, yet the old relic reacted to your arrival." "I crashed," he said. "My ship failed." "You came from the sky during the exact moment of the sacred coronation. That is no accident to us." Sam sighed. "I don't know anything about your world or your beliefs, but I never meant to interrupt anything." Virelia looked at him in silence. Then she gestured. "Follow me." They walked together through the grand halls of the palace. Strange paintings lined the walls, tales of past empresses, wars, peace, and a shining figure falling from the sky. Sam noticed that same glowing sphere from before placed on a pedestal nearby. Virelia stopped near a wide door guarded by soldiers. "Inside is the Hall of Prophecies. Only the ruling Empress and the High Priest are allowed in." She looked at Sam. "But today, you are allowed as well." The doors opened. The room was large and round, with symbols carved into the stone floor. Light came from crystals in the ceiling, glowing softly. In the center stood three elder priests, their robes long and shimmering. One of them stepped forward. "He is the one the stars warned of." Another nodded. "We must test him." Sam frowned. "Test me how?" The third priest raised a small silver ring. "You will wear this. It will read your energy. If you are the one from the prophecy, it will shine bright blue." Virelia motioned for him to take it. "Do you accept?" Sam nodded slowly and took the ring. He slid it onto his finger. Nothing happened. The priests leaned in, waiting. Sam looked at Virelia. "Maybe I'm not your chosen one." Then the ring flickered. A soft hum filled the room. The ring glowed, first dim, then brighter, then burst into a gentle blue light that filled the whole hall. The priests gasped. "The light of unity," one whispered. "This hasn't happened in generations." Virelia looked at Sam with new eyes. "This is the first sign." That night, Sam sat quietly in a private garden within the palace. He couldn't sleep. Too many thoughts filled his head. He didn't want to believe in fate or ancient signs, but things were happening around him that had no easy explanation. Footsteps behind him were soft, but he heard them. "I thought you might come," he said without turning. Virelia sat down on the stone bench beside him. "Everything has changed," she said quietly. "The people are speaking about you. The priests now believe you are the one." Sam looked at her. "And you?" She paused. "I am still unsure, but the signs are strong. The prophecy says the one who comes from fire will be my destined mate. My soul mirror. It is said he will help me lead the people into a new age." Sam leaned back. That sounds like a lot of pressure. Virilia gave a small smile. It is. He looked at her closely. And how do you feel about a mate you didn't choose? She looked at him for a long time. If fate truly chose you, then perhaps I must learn to understand it, and understand you. Silence fell between them, but it was not cold. It was thoughtful. The next day, the tests continued. Sam was taken to the Temple of Winds, where a tall pillar stood surrounded by floating orbs. He had to walk through them without disturbing the balance. He focused, moved slowly, and passed. Then came the trial of the heart, where he had to speak his thoughts to a stone tablet. The stone glowed softly when he spoke of protecting those he cared about and never wanting to harm anyone. The final trial that day was the mirror flame. A small fire was lit, and he was told to place his hand over it. If he was truly the chosen, he would feel warmth, not pain. Sam hesitated but trusted his instinct. He reached out. The flame did not burn him. Instead, it danced, floating up into the air like a ribbon, spinning around him. Virilia watched with wide eyes. The priests bowed their heads. It is true, one whispered. The bond is beginning. But in the shadows of the palace, not everyone was pleased. Lord Kalin, a powerful noble, spoke quietly with two others in the war chamber. This human is changing everything, he growled. If the Empress binds with him, traditions will die. Our ways will be forgotten. One of his followers whispered, What shall we do? Kalen's eyes narrowed. We stop this nonsense before the Empress forgets who she really is. Outside, the winds carried whispers of change, and Sam, unaware of the growing danger, continued to take step after step toward a destiny he never asked for, but could no longer escape. Sam stood in the center of the arena of truth, surrounded by thousands of silent Zilari citizens. The silver platform beneath his feet glowed faintly, reacting to his heartbeat. Around him, priests, nobles, and warriors watched closely. The highest balcony. Empress Virilia sat on her throne, her expression calm but unreadable. This was not just a test. It was the ancient trial of destiny. One of the elder priests stepped forward. You have passed the signs, survived the early trials, and shown courage. But to complete the path of the chosen, you must now face 3 final challenges: mind, heart, and spirit. Sam nodded. Let's get started. The trial of the mind began with a puzzle, a massive wall of moving symbols, lights, and levers. The challenge was to find the correct pattern that represented harmony. Zilari students trained their whole lives for this, but Sam had no such knowledge. He looked at the puzzle for a long time. Then he closed his eyes and breathed deeply. Instead of thinking like a student, he thought like a pilot. Balance. Left and right. Input and output, he whispered. He moved the levers slowly. When he turned the final one, the puzzle lit up in a soft blue wave. The wall opened with a calm chime. The crowd gasped. The elders nodded with respect. He learns fast, one priest said. Next came the trial of the heart. Sam was led to a sacred garden inside the palace. He stood before the tree of memory, its glowing petals drifting in the air. He was told to speak his truth, to share his deepest pain or strongest emotion. Sam hesitated at first. Then he spoke. I was alone when I left Earth. No family, no one waiting for me to return. I chose to fly into the unknown, hoping to find something that made me feel like I belonged. He touched the tree. Maybe that's why I ended up here. Maybe this place was waiting for me too. The tree's petals turned bright blue. The garden shined. Virilia watched from afar, her hand resting lightly on her chest. The final test was the trial of spirit. Sam stood at the edge of a high cliff, facing a storm. Winds howled, and energy crackled in the sky. He had to walk across a narrow bridge, made of floating stones without falling, without looking back. Below him was a deep chasm glowing with dangerous light. You must trust your spirit, the priest said. If you are empty inside, the stones will break. Sam looked down once, then focused ahead. He stepped forward. One stone, then another. His foot slipped once, but he caught himself. Each step felt harder. The wind pushed, the storm roared, but something inside him told him to keep going. I belong here, he whispered. He reached the other side. The bridge vanished behind him, but he stood tall. The Empress herself came forward to greet him. You have passed, she said softly. All of it. Sam smiled slightly. So, now what? Virelia looked at him with new eyes. Now we see what fate truly wants. Later that night, the palace held a celebration. Music filled the air. The people of Zillar danced and laughed. Lights floated in the sky like stars. Sam stood at the edge of the garden feeling strange. People nodded at him with respect, some even bowing. He didn't know how to act. Virelia approached him. You are not used to attention, she said. I'm used to space, silence, engines humming. She smiled gently. Then let this be your new silence. They walked together. The Empress did not speak like a ruler now. She spoke like someone curious, someone open. I have studied human culture, she said. Your kind values freedom, choice. We do, Sam replied, even when it's hard. Virelia looked up at the stars. The prophecy says you are my destined mate, but do you believe in such things? Sam thought for a moment. No, I never believed in destiny, but I believe in choices. I believe people can find each other even across stars. Their eyes met. For a brief moment, something silent passed between them. Not love, not yet, but understanding, possibility, but not all hearts were at peace. Lord Kalen stood on a balcony far from the celebration, his eyes dark. The human has passed the trials, one of his advisors said. Kalen clenched his jaw. The people love him now. Even the Empress is changing. I warned them this would happen. What will you do? Kalen turned slowly. There is one final trial that was never allowed. The trial of sacrifice. Let us see if the human is willing to risk his life when it truly matters. Unaware of the shadow growing behind him, Sam stood beneath the ancient trees with Virelia. The wind was gentle, the stars were bright, and somewhere in the silence, destiny whispered. The real test had yet to begin. The palace was alive with celebration. The people of Zillar had not felt this much joy in many years. Laughter echoed through the halls, lights floated through the sky, and music filled the night air. Sam, now seen as a special guest of honor, walked beside Empress Virelia in the grand hall. Her robe shimmered like silver water, and his simple clothing had been replaced with clean ceremonial fabric stitched with ancient symbols. Tomorrow, the Empress would choose her mate in the public square of stars, but tonight was supposed to be peaceful. I still can't believe this is happening, Sam said as they walked slowly past the gardens. Virelia glanced at him. It was not easy for me either. I never believed in the old stories, but you changed something in me, and in the people. Sam smiled lightly. Maybe we were both waiting for something real. She said nothing, but her eyes stayed on his for a moment longer than usual. Far away in the shadows of the palace walls, Lord Kalen moved through a hidden passage with his loyal followers. He held a small glowing cube, an ancient device known to disrupt power shields. It was banned long ago. His plan was clear: cause chaos during the Empress's final decision, blame it on the human, and force the council to remove him forever. He stole our traditions, Kalen growled. He cannot take the throne too. The next morning, thousands of Zillari gathered in the square of stars. The sky was clear, and the 3 moons hovered together like pearls. It was a perfect day for a royal declaration. Sam stood quietly beside Virelia at the top of the sacred steps. His heart pounded. He had no idea what she would decide. The trials were done. The signs were clear. But still, he wondered if she truly wanted him, or if she only followed what others believed. Virelia raised her hand, and silence swept over the crowd. "People of Zillar," she began, "I stand here today not only as your empress but as a daughter of this land and the keeper of its future. The ancient signs have returned, and the one from the stars has passed every test." She turned toward Sam. "But I do not speak these words because of prophecy alone. I have watched him. I have learned his heart. He is kind, brave, honest." A soft cheer rose from the crowd. "I now prepare to make my choice," she said. "Not by force, not by fear, but with faith in truth." But before she could take a step, a blast shook the square. A thick black cloud rose from the ground. Screams followed. The shield protecting the Empress flickered, then dropped. Attack! From the side of the square, masked figures stormed the stage. Energy spears in hand, they moved fast, aiming for the Empress. Sam didn't think. He ran. He pulled Virelia down just before a weapon struck where she had stood. Guards rushed in, but more explosions hit the square. Panic spread fast. Virelia looked at Sam wide-eyed. "This is a planned strike." "Stay low," he yelled, pulling her behind a stone pillar. He grabbed a fallen weapon from the ground, its strange grip unfamiliar but manageable. Kalen watched from the shadows. His plan was going too well. If Sam ran away, he would call him a coward. If he fought, he could fall. But Sam didn't run. He stood and faced the attackers. The people gasped as the human fired the alien weapon with steady aim, protecting both the Empress and civilians trapped behind stone benches. One attacker rushed forward, blade raised. Sam tackled him before the guards arrived. Virelia stood now, eyes fierce. "Shield the people. Save the children first," she ordered. Her voice brought strength to the guards. They formed new lines, protected the crowd, and fought off the attackers with renewed courage. Kalen growled. His own men were falling back. "No," he muttered. "Not like this." When the square was finally calm again, smoke drifted across the broken stones. The attackers had been defeated. Some escaped, but most were captured. Sam's arm was bleeding, but he didn't notice. His eyes were locked on Virelia, who walked up to him. "You could have fled," she said softly. "But I didn't," Sam replied. "I wasn't going to leave you behind." She looked at him closely. "That was not part of any trial. That was your heart." Sam nodded. "No prophecy made me do that." A hush fell over the crowd as she turned to face them again. "This man," she said loudly, "has not only passed the trials of mind, heart, and spirit, but also the test of loyalty." People cheered, loud and clear. Virelia reached for Sam's hand. "I now declare him as my chosen mate." The ancient crown, in the square, an object placed long ago for this moment, lit up. A soft, warm light rose from it, wrapping around both of them. The ancient omens had been completed. Sam stood beside her, unsure of what to say. But Virelia leaned closer and whispered, "You are no longer a stranger here. You are part of us now." In the distance, Kalen escaped into the dark, his plans broken, but his hatred remained. For now, peace had returned to Zillar. But not everyone was ready to let the human become part of their future. And deep inside Sam's heart, he knew. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. For 3 days, the planet of Zillar celebrated. Music floated across the skies, lights danced between the towers, and flowers fell like rain from floating trees. The Empress's people welcomed a new time, one filled with hope, healing, and unity. In the palace, Sam walked through long crystal halls, still trying to believe what had happened. A few days ago, he had crashed here with no knowledge of this world. Now he was standing at the heart of its future. He passed servants who bowed. Warriors saluted. Children smiled and waved. He returned each gesture kindly, still unsure how he had come this far. Virelia met him in the moon garden, a quiet place where white petals fell gently onto the stone path. She wore a soft green robe today, different from her royal silver. Her hair was loose. Her crown rested in her hands. "You're Not wearing it today, Sam said, pointing to the crown. Not yet, she smiled. Sometimes it's good to remember I am also a person, not just a ruler. Sam walked beside her in silence. I still feel like I'm dreaming, he admitted. You're the Empress. This is your world. I'm just a pilot who made a mistake. Virelia looked at him gently. The stars don't make mistakes, they guide. Sometimes without explanation. He sighed. What if I can't do what they expect? What if I fail you? You already faced death and didn't run, she said. You faced truth, and you didn't lie. That is all I need. Later that day, the Grand Council gathered inside the Hall of Harmony. High priests, nobles, elders, and advisors stood beneath giant golden arches. The sacred sphere, the one that had first reacted to Sam, now floated quietly behind the throne. Virelia stepped forward. We live in a time of change. The ancient omens have returned, and we must decide whether to follow what is old or accept what is new. Some nobles looked nervous. Others looked angry. Lord Kalen, standing among them, stepped forward. We respect the Empress, but allowing an outsider to become part of our ruling line is dangerous. What if he cannot handle our politics, our customs? Virelia raised her hand. He is not here to control. He is here to walk beside me. Kalen scoffed. And what if he walks away someday? What then? Before Virelia could speak, Sam stepped forward. Everyone turned. If I ever walk away, it will not be because I fear your world, Sam said calmly. It will be because I wasn't strong enough to protect it. But I'll never stop trying. The room grew quiet. Kalen opened his mouth to speak again, but the sacred sphere behind the throne glowed, pulsing brightly. It spun once, then stopped, sending a beam of soft light between Sam and Virelia. A high priest gasped. The bond is complete. The elder priest stepped forward. We cannot deny what has happened. The signs are clear. The heart of Gilar has spoken. Kalen clenched his fists but stepped back in silence. That evening the ceremony was held. In the square of stars, Sam stood beside Virelia. The people cheered as their Empress held up the crown once again, but this time she placed it on her head with her own hands. And beside her she placed a second symbol, a ring made of starlight, into Sam's palm. Will you stand by me? She asked quietly. Yes, he said, not because of fate, but because I choose you. The moment their hands touched, a wave of light rose from the ground and swept across the crowd. It was soft, warm, and full of calm energy. Everyone stood still, feeling its peace. A voice from the crowd shouted, "Long live the Empress! Long live the Chosen!" Others joined in. That night the skies of Gilar were filled with stars and glowing ribbons of light. Fire petals bloomed above the palace. The world rejoiced. In the days that followed, Sam began his new life. He studied the Gilari language, learned about their customs, and walked with Virelia during her daily talks with the people. He didn't take command. He didn't try to act like a ruler. Instead, he listened. He helped where he could. The people began to love him, not because of the prophecy, but because of his honest heart. One day, while walking through the village market, a young alien child ran up and hugged his leg. You're the human who saved our Empress, the child beamed. Sam knelt down, smiling. No, little one. She saved me too. But even in peace there were whispers in the shadows. Lord Kalen had vanished after the council meeting. Some said he had gone to other worlds. Others said he was planning something darker. Sam knew danger could return one day, but he wasn't afraid. Now he had something worth protecting and someone to stand beside. One night, as they sat watching the stars, Virelia leaned against him and asked, "Do you miss Earth?" Sam looked at the sky, then at her. Not anymore. She smiled. Good, because I think our real journey has just begun. Above them, the stars shimmered as if agreeing, and so, on a planet once unknown, where ancient omens ruled and legends guided the future, A human from Earth found love, purpose, and a place to belong, not by chance but by choice.